I moved to Kota at the age of 14, right?
Oh God.
And I stayed there for 3 years, right? We were prepared for 2 years, but then since I was exploring and I explored too much, that honestly I was not too much into academics. So I moved to Himalayas.
You moved to Himalayas?
Yeah, so my solo traveling started from that point. We remember we used to have a cafe there. That was the first early business that we did.
A cafe?
Right? Space Ventures is something, let's work for the space tech.
So did you start building something?
I started to research upon space rocket technologies and other pieces. So the first venture at the age of 19 when I started officially, we named it Cubes. But then something happened because something has to happen, right?
Life.
Life.
What's the future of Stylework going to look like?
So you want to make Stylework as the Airbnb of the globe.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Dhairya Decodes Podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be joined by somebody who started his entrepreneurship journey fairly early on in his life. He was just 19 when he ventured into the world of entrepreneurship, and today it's been almost a decade of him being at it. He is the founder and MD of Stylework, which is India's leading B2B SaaS tech-enabled flexible co-working space aggregator. And they've been trying to bridge the gap in the co-working space and ecosystem in India for about a decade now. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking to Sparsh about his journey of choosing the path of taking up entrepreneurship. We'll know a lot about his early career days and his childhood. We'll also dive deep into what he's trying to do with Stylework, and we'll try and understand how is it that Stylework is revolutionizing the way co-working spaces are actually evolving and transforming the landscape of work in India, and how technology has a brilliant role to play in it as well. There's a lot more we'll uncover. He's also somebody who's been mentioned in various media and news channels and platforms. He also got awarded as the Young Entrepreneur of the Year 2020-2021 by Achievers Forum. He is also the recipient of the Entrepreneur 30 Under 30 award. And I think without any further ado, it's time to welcome Sparsh to the Dhairya Decodes Podcast.
Oh, thank you, Dhairya. Thank you for such a warm introduction. Pleasure to be here and talk across the journey, and let's have fun.
Sure, yeah. No, I think like I did mention in your introduction as well, it's very fascinating to know that you kind of had the clarity, probably or not, we'll explore along the way, of knowing what you wanted to do with your career, right? Since this is a specific podcast, most of the viewers who tune into the episodes are trying to figure out what they want to do with their life. So why don't we start with understanding, how did you know so early on that you'd want to do something of your own? And if you look back down the memory lane, did it have anything to do with the kind of family background you came from and what you saw people around you pursuing as a child? Because I think the early impressions, and when you see your family members or people around you choose certain career paths, it does have some kind of an impact, right?
It do. I think, and I think that's the storyline,
Yeah.
of whatever I am today or whatever we could build together. That's the statement, because everything has to be linked to something that pushed you across.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
I think in early childhood, at the age of 14, something changed, right? And I think that moved the conversation forward, right? I was asked to leave out of home, right? Because some things were not pretty good at the family at that point of time. And my parents didn't wanted me to, obviously be a part of that ecosystem, right?
What did your parents do? If you
they're not a businessman, right?
Okay.
I'm the first generation entrepreneur.
Oh, okay.
So my father is into national highways, right? So he's been a central government employee, right? And my mother is a housewife. So Jaipur is where I come from. Alwar is where I've born off, right? Obviously, my grandfather was an intelligence bureau. Sometimes I think where is the intelligence linked to, right? So,
yeah.
But so that's the journey, right? So a typical middle class government, a kind of family, right? And that's coming out of it. Since I said, right, some things were not good, and my father wanted that you have a break out of it, right? Don't be a part of this, right? And obviously, there was a sense of bullying and all of those things which led to us, right?
Yeah.
In childhood, what happened is, since my father was into central government, right?
Yeah.
You move from Rajasthan to a state like UP, right? Once that happens to you when you're a kid of 5, 6 years or 7, 8 years, you see a sudden change of influx, and suddenly you get into bullying.
Correct.
Right? Because you're not able to cope up with the culture, right? Of how the changes are. Being into those things, I moved to Kota at the age of 14, right?
Oh God.
And and that was a journey where a lot of you and everybody have, heard about Kota, and I think how it makes people,
for sure,
right? And I think my exploration started right there, right? So I wanted to explore everything out there.
It was your decision to go to Kota?
Not my decision, but my father's
But because you had
decision.
to move out, so then
Yes,
you...
so that was the best call at that time in
So it
11th
was just from
standard.
a education standpoint, I'm assuming?
Education standpoint. See, in Indian ecosystem, in the middle class families, it's like become an engineer or a doctor. That's generally how it goes across,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Obviously, biology is something that I didn't understood, so I got an engineering line, right? So
Yeah.
obviously, it was that where you have to go. Then Kota is the best place in 11th standard if you have to go out and
Yeah.
get into those bunsels and vibrants and
Correct.
unsels and all,
Yeah,
right?
that jazz, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's where I moved across.
Yeah.
And I stayed there for 3 years, right? We were prepared for 2 years. But then since I was exploring and I explored too much, that honestly, I was not too much into academics, right?
Got it.
But still, I think some knowledge access was there. So we were kind of, into a journey of always topping the batch in. But I was like, no, let's explore the other part of the life, right? So in the mid of it,
Yeah.
right? When you are, obviously not taking in academics too seriously onto the pattern it is, right? And I was like, it's okay. When you get an IIT or an NIT or you get a college, it doesn't matter, right? It's about how do you traverse the journey and how fast,
For sure, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And for that, when I passed out of there, I didn't took up NIT Warangal because it was Warangal. I wanted to be in a metropolitan city.
Oh.
When I was at the age of 17, it's like that was the most important thing for me,
Okay.
right? That be into a space where I can learn and fail forward,
Got it.
right? I don't want to be in a silo space just for academics.
So the location was important for
Yes,
you, just in
yes.
terms of
Right.
your overall development.
Yeah, so maybe I took up a downgraded college just because of location. That much it matters to me.
But a lot of people don't do that,
Yeah,
because, I mean, so to say, the stereotype and conventional norm is to always go with a name and a tag, right?
Yes.
That thappa is important in India.
Yes, yes.
The IIT, NIT tags.
Yeah. So I think that was something in me that I could realize that it's all about exploration.
Right.
Till the time you will particularly live in your silos, right? You're not able to come out of it because the real life experience is about let's get into the world which is more tougher,
Yeah.
right? And then you'll fail forward and learn better.
Right. Makes a lot of sense.
So I think that was the key, and so that happened across childhood.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Sparsh. But जैसे कि आप बता रहे थे that you came from Alwar in Rajasthan, and then you made the conscious decision that I want to move to a place or a location where the opportunities are not limited, right? So now you tell me, फिर उसके बाद what was your final choice and what did you do? Which college did you go to? And how did your journey pan from there? So entrepreneurship as a career path, वो आपने कैसे choose किया?
Correct. I think so. I chose JSSAT, and it's one of the private colleges for engineering in Noida, right?
JSS.
JSS.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be in NCR, that matter, right? I didn't pick up Warangal
ठीक है.
because like I don't know Warangal,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
At that point of time.
Yeah.
So once I came in here for the first year and the second year, then I was into full exploration of the city, right? कि पहले city explore करते हैं,
Correct.
right? But that's the reason I came in for.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
But I think in the first 2 years, I was kind of done with that because a lot of time what happens is you enter into college, right? That's your first exposure outside,
Right.
right? But I was already done in Kota for 3 years. Then this decision, so 2 years, 16 to 18, it was kind of done, right? So I moved to Himalayas.
You moved to Himalayas.
Yeah, so my solo traveling started to from that point because then I was like, okay, I've explored. I understand, what's going on.
College चल रहा था.
College चल रहा था.
College चल रहा था.
But colleges, right?
Yeah,
Engineering
yeah.
colleges, pretty chill. You can
Yeah.
travel down.
No,
and
mine
all
was
that.
not chill.
Or is
That's
it?
why.
that's another positive point of not taking in a typical college, right?
Yeah.
You also have that.
Yeah.
So since that piece was done, so I thought let's explore more, right? So I started traveling, and that part started to come out, right? Let's go to Uttarakhand, let's go to Himachal. What all places are there near you, right? And I started to love those landscapes and start spending time in there and all of that. I think that changed a lot of things. That was the move where I could move and understand about my spiritualism,
Right.
my liberalism and all of those things.
Correct.
Right? Because from the choice of moving into chaos, I moved into silence, right? Slowly and steadily, and understanding about me,
Got it.
right? And I think that's where I kind of spent a lot of time, 4-5 years from those 16 to 20, right? Wherein I was here as well, but half of the time or 30% of the time I was there as well. I loved interacting with new fellow, international passengers who were coming across in these areas and understanding about the global lifestyle, right? And other pieces,
Yeah.
right? What's going across,
Right.
right? Once that was there, I remember, so, a lot of space science dreams as an entrepreneur started to come out, right? At 17, 18, because it was like Elon Musk had just come in at that point of time, right? Into visibilities. Yeah. So, and
You also come from a computer science background yourself.
computer science, but like I told you, computer science wo ho
I
gaya
mean,
bas.
you just did it. But then again, it is the most aspirational engineering degree even today.
Yeah.
When it comes to choosing a stream, everybody is like, do
Yeah.
CS or IT.
Yeah, but I think we should move on vertical education.
I agree.
It's very horizontal that you keep studying in geography, civics, and history for 7 or 8 years, back and back.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
then you
in
never
general,
implement
the
it,
entire
right?
education system, so we can have a separate podcast on that.
Correct.
Just to talk about what needs to change.
Correct.
So I'll not go there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, but why I'm touch basing upon it, because I know that, I didn't had any back or anything like that in computer science, but I don't know any single line of code.
But did you enjoy it?
No, I didn't.
You didn't.
No. So more of it, I evolved as a system designer, right? That's how you can build structures and you can build organization design
So maybe
or
a certain
products.
aspect of it you liked.
Certain
You didn't
aspect
really
of
like
it.
coding.
Yes, absolutely. All the products that we make, all the organizations that we make, it's system designing, right?
Yeah, correct.
You are just designing in a system.
Yeah.
It's just that either it will be on a code or on an org chart, and then people management and stuff like that. So I started that piece of the journey on designing, right? That let's start to make business models. Let's start to make structures. What can work better? Where are the clients? Where is the supply? What are the problems? And all of that, right? This was all going on in Himachal, coming back there.
While you were traveling and meeting
While
people.
you were traveling and spending time there and all of that, right? We remember we used to have a cafe there. That was the first early business that we did.
A cafe,
Right?
your
Yes.
own cafe.
A partnered cafe.
Okay.
So that story is also very interesting, right? So within that traveling and all of that, right? I found one of my best friends right now,
Okay.
right? Who has moved to Canada.
Yeah.
But he was also for 5-6 years the CHRO for the company and one of the early founding members, right?
Okay.
Because he was starting something down there to open up a cafe, and I went there as an isolated traveler,
Yeah,
right? That can I help you in this business?
Okay.
Right? Can I just bring in some digital nomads and clients,
Right.
right? To this make you packages and stuff and all of that,
Correct.
right? And I will just live here.
Yeah.
तो मुझसे charge मत करना because I don't have funds to do that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I'll just help you build your sales.
Got it.
I don't want any commission and stuff, right? So it was not a typical business,
Yeah.
but obviously for your survival and sustenance, you needed some good space, to pass time,
Yeah.
right? And have a value कि यार यहाँ पे कुछ अच्छा बनाते
You're-
हैं.
yeah, you're
Let's
building
build a
something.
good community.
Correct.
That was the sense of community that I got in for the first time,
Got it.
right? Because the people that we called in, and suddenly we saw everybody's loving it, and there are more referrals, and there are more referrals. People are coming in, and later we realized कि this is not because of the space. This is because of us,
Right.
right? Who are the host? How are they
Yeah.
treating you?
Yeah.
Right?
How do
The
they make you
customer
feel?
experience part.
Yeah,
How are you
yeah, the
making you
customer-
feel, right?
yeah.
And then they're going back, go to this place. You will just not love this place, but the people down there as well.
Yeah,
Right? You
yeah.
could make those conversations.
Correct.
Right? And I think that gave me the business sense of
Things.
life.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah.
This is very interesting. Business could be done. Right? Early on as a
Is
passion.
that when probably the spark came in that maybe I
Yes.
can create something of my own?
Yes. That's the point. But obviously then I started thinking which is that industry.
Right.
As an
Which
entrepreneur,
domain to pick?
right? What to pick upon? Is it fintech or agri-tech or health tech? So the question was very simple, and I could realize this from my visionary leaders, right? Be it Jobs or Musk or other people who have built great stuff in life, right? That let's look at something which I can spend next 50 years on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
It's
That
very
I-
important to think about
Correct,
that. yeah.
because something that I can, wake up every day, right? And keep building it for 50 years,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because I'm 20, maybe, I'm going to pass on 70,
Right.
right? It's huge.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of time went into it. And then I could realize that, space ventures is something, let's work for the space tech,
Okay.
right? Because obviously it sounds fascinating. And then you have this nostalgia thing, we'll do something good for the space ventures. And then even we are going to space one day. And then we are building technologies for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
We are pushing the human life
It's
forward.
also very aspirational in general, right?
Yeah. It's the most toughest.
Yeah.
But maybe if it unlocks,
Yeah,
right?
and there's huge
It's huge.
Yeah.
Right? So obviously I wanted to pick up something larger than life, right? Okay, let's pick up whatever is the toughest, whatever could, give me the most amount of nostalgia. Right?
Got it.
So I think that was the thought line. And, but then obviously I realized it needs a lot of money,
Okay.
right?
So did you start building something then?
We
in that
started
area?
building, we started
Yeah.
researching upon it, right? I started to research upon space rocket technologies, and other pieces. So the first venture at the age of 19, when I started officially, we named it Cubes, right? So the concept was on building modular space architecture.
Modular space architecture.
Right. So if you look at co-working spaces today, right,
Yeah.
how it has evolved is modularity has come in.
Correct.
Ghar mein bhi modularity aa rahi
Has
hai,
come
modular
in, yeah.
kitchens.
Yeah.
If you go to some of the Western countries, some more modular stuff is coming across,
Yeah.
right? Then we're talking about how we can change the study room into bedrooms,
Yeah,
those studio apartments and
it's
all
all
of that.
about multifunctional utilities.
Multifunctionality,
Yeah.
right? Or changing environments.
True.
Right? How can, via IoT, I right now can change the colors of it.
Correct.
And feel differently.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Once we'll start to colonize in space, maybe a decade after, we'll need to build colonies there. And to build that architecture, it will be 100% modular because the environments are going to be
Yeah, it
different.
won't support anything.
Environments are going to be different. You can't take bricks down there to Mars, right?
Yeah, yeah. We'll know. But I don't think it's possible.
Correct. So you need to have very designed ecosystem of
Yeah.
modular architecture,
Right.
So I thought
You were very futuristic, I think.
Yeah, so
Like
because I was thinking into a direction if Musk will build the rockets, let me build after what it will be needed afterwards,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Right? तो तब तक तो मैं वहाँ तक पहुँचूंगा तो rockets तो बन चुके होंगे ना?
Correct. हाँ, समझ गई.
Right? What I'll innovate at that point of time.
Yeah,
right?
got it.
So that was the thought line. So I started research on architectural things, modular.
Were you doing all of this alone?
No, I think there are bits and pieces of people that I founded in the
So there were a few people probably that you were working with you and supporting the idea?
Yes. So the first one was one of the investor advisors, and he was one of the owners of the biggest real estate in Bihar.
Okay.
He had a research center in Bodh Gaya,
Oh, nice.
right behind Buddha's temple.
Right.
So that's another part of the spiritual journey, how I could get
Got
there.
it.
Right.
Got it.
And this is all happening autonomously.
Yeah.
Right. So one thing I believe you have to, focus upon it, and life will take you there.
Yeah.
Somewhere down the line, right?
Yeah.
And he had a research center. So I met through a friend who
Right.
was in ISM Dhanbad.
Yeah.
That's why he was connected to Bihar. All right. So he said, he is also a very good entrepreneur apart from his main business. And he's looking at entrepreneurs who can do some research and good work and maybe then start a company at a 50-50% sharing.
Got it.
Right. At that point of time, we didn't understand equity or investment. We were like, वो पैसे दे रहा है ठीक है तो रिसर्च करने के लिए भी जगह दे रहा है तो let's just start.
Yeah, let's just start. Correct.
Right. So we went there around a year and we were just building up these prototypes and all of that. Then realized let's bring it to pod hotel concept because bringing it from space to earth, right? What do you want to first start with? So it was like Japan concept, right?
Yeah.
Pod hotels. But so we were like at railway station, we'll build those pod hotels that are very, that can be sold by the hour because railway station, bus stands is huge public in India, right? You don't have pretty much waiting spaces and all of that, right? It's that's a problem to solve.
Yeah.
So I thought, let's solve this problem, right? We even got to building some prototype and took it with, IRCTC and all of that, took the first contract. But then something happened because something has to happen, right?
Life.
Yeah. So that was the first learning or the first failure. His son coming from London and he said, no, this is my company and all that. We had a fight. I didn't know at that point of time how to control your arguments or how to control your people management skills, right?
Yeah.
And I think building companies is just that.
For sure. It's all about people. People is the core and crux of everything.
Correct. And keeping your egos down and all that, right? It's still moving across. At that time, we used to be young and we were like, but we embrace
Young
it now.
blood.
Yeah, we embrace it now, right?
Yeah, we do. I think, but do you think that the failure of the first entrepreneurial venture, while it was, I think, way ahead of its time also, which I think is great, but what did it teach you? Because I'm sure it paved the way for you to then be able to, obviously, we'll talk about Stylework at length, but how did that kind of aid you to be able to ensure that going forward, whatever it is that I take up and I build now, let's not replicate these things, right?
So I think that's the only learning I've been taking in all the failures across the last 10 years, right? Because, generally people say go to a corporate experience and have those learnings and then come up and all that.
You never did a job.
Right? So for me, it's the live action.
Yeah.
Within it, I'll do some big mistakes. And out of those big mistakes, I'll just make sure that I don't repeat it to that tendency.
Yeah, correct.
Right? Moving forward.
Yeah.
Right? How much I can control that across.
Yeah.
And that was a learning, right? Like people management, right? How to deal with investors, how to deal with advisors or your team, how to motivate people to be with you for a long period, how to, align them with the vision. right? Or empathy and discipline for that matter, right? How to create a balance upon it.
Did you also somewhere realize how important it is to have the right team in place and hire the right folks?
Yes, but to be very honest, you can't have a control over it in the early phases. You just have to once again
Yeah,
fail forward,
true,
right?
true. Yeah.
And I think that happened a lot as part of small failures in Stylework journey when I started this finally at 21.
Correct.
Right,
Okay, you
realizing
started
that
at 21.
yes, that yeah, space ventures अभी 10 साल बात करेंगे, right? उसके लिए maybe you need a lot of resources, wealth and all of that, right?
Yeah,
Because it needs a lot of
It
pocket
does,
to
it
cross,
does, it does.
right? So I thought, what is that idea that doesn't need too much money to build upon, and that has the right market timing.
So that's how co-working
That's how
came to your
co-working
mind?
came. At that point of time, if you see in India, there used to be Innovate,
Yeah.
right? Or 91 Springboard, Innovate in CP.
हाँ.
Only these 2-3 brands were visible.
WeWork भी इतना prominent
नहीं था, वो तो 2018-19 में इंडिया में आया है,
correct.
right? But WeWork was picking up, has
Globally.
picked up SoftBank's investment in
Yeah,
2016. That's where it became a hyped topic
Prominent, yeah.
at that point of time, right? So I thought, ठीक है, वो इंडिया और एशिया के मार्केट्स में co-working will pick up now, right? Over the next 4-5 years, and India has huge population, and India has a huge basis of GCCs and all that is happening now,
Yeah.
right? Huge strengths of teams.
Correct.
Right, so co-working and managed office would be at peak at one point of time. So why not let's build something around it.
Okay.
And then I thought it is somehow mixed to modular architecture. So co-working spaces also would be evolving onto modularity.
Yeah.
So somehow later I could connect this particular arc.
I also feel your travel journey and you going
Yeah.
solo, meeting a lot of people,
Yes.
and then obviously generally people are on the go like me
Yes.
and traveling.
Yes.
And we don't really need physical office spaces because your
Yes.
entire team is, put
Remote,
up in
agile, yeah.
different locations.
Yeah.
I think you also picked a lot from that also now that
Yes.
I'm kind
yes,
of connecting
yes,
the
yes.
dots.
And about community, right?
And about community,
At the soul
yeah.
of it, right?
Yeah,
Because we could make so meaningful conversations about my own exploration
Yeah,
by just traveling and allowing yourself to speak
correct.
to new people,
Yeah.
right? At the young age. So I could realize how important it is for the community side of it. So co-working is a great concept as a shared economy, right?
Right.
Whatever we are doing is trying to do great things in shared economy, be it in our apartments,
Yeah,
be it in our co-schools and other things,
correct.
right? So it was just matching into all the bits and pieces, right? For me to work across next 10-15 years. So this is my thing.
Yeah.
I can work across it, right? It'll give me fun. I can keep evolving. It has a lot of masala across it,
Interesting.
right? So
Got it.
That's how Stylework started.
When you started Stylework, Sparsh, what was the thought process or idea back then?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure it would have evolved in the last 10 years, right? To
Oh,
what you're trying to do today.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there were some major pivots. We'll talk about that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
But what was the initial idea or problem you were trying to solve for?
I think I picked up from Coworking Cafe.
Okay.
Because the cafe story for Himachal,
Correct.
then I was like, people are coming in, people are staying there, people are making meaningful conversations, people also working there. People used to come for 7 days, 10 days. It was kind of a vocation thing, right?
Yeah.
And so from that piece, I realized that, co-working cafes is also a good thing. Like CCDs and Starbucks and all of that, people used to go and work. But later we realized India is not the market where you can charge customers
To come.
to cafes and
Cafes,
work
yeah.
from there, right?
True.
But we didn't realize at that point of time, right? We said, okay, this might work, right? And let's just start to aggregate CCDs and some of the co-working cafes.
Achha, so you started in the co-working space but with co-working cafes
Yes,
first initially. Okay.
Right? Because with obviously, see, office space, real estate,
Yeah.
co-working office developers, all of this was very new to us, right? These are bull markets,
Yeah.
right? And we had no exposure upon. Co-working cafe is good to deal with. Go to a co-working cafe in a Garden of Five Senses and ask, we'll give business to you. They were like, it was also easy for us to understand, right?
Yeah.
At that point of time,
Yeah.
right? So we started aggregating it
Got it.
and all that. But later, I think 2 to 3 years down the line, we didn't do that, right? Then we realized it's not giving us revenue. So at the first point of time, I realized where does the revenue comes in from, right? Where does the money comes in from the account, right? First,
Yeah.
I need to sustain,
Yeah.
right?
No, that's very interesting that you brought that up because I was going to ask you that again for the audiences and for people to know. While aggregators and aggregation as a word, I'm sure a lot of people know about it, but just to break it down for most folks who
Yeah.
don't understand Sparsh,
Yeah.
can you maybe just tell us a little bit about what does an aggregator, especially in the co-working space, even do, and how do you guys
Yeah.
make money, like you
Yeah.
said. How do you sustain? Because you are into the business of aggregation, right? So it'll be great if you can break that down, and then we'll move to obviously a little bit more about Stylework.
Right. So I think we can call it Uber for co-working, right?
Okay.
Or Make My Trip for co-working,
Right.
Because all of these are either cab aggregators or hotel aggregators.
Yeah.
So any industry, right, that will grow up in terms of supply and demand
Yeah.
will have an aggregation, has a potential of an aggregation.
So it's like a marketplace.
It's a marketplace,
Yeah.
right? Because there'll be plenty of spaces, right, that are today like 10,000 spaces or 10,000 co-working centers and managed office centers in 80, 90 cities and all of that. And there's massive demand coming up, right? Where exactly the inventory is, at what pricing, if I have to see the comparisons and choose the best decision,
Yeah.
how do I see it on a tech platform? That's the capability of a marketplace.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what we thought of, right? If the supply and demand would be at peak, let's start to build an aggregation system so that that platform, and we could be little ahead of the time, that we could, have our operations streamlined at that point of time. And then, we can build revenues out of it, because right now clients, B2B clients, startups, companies who are looking at multi-city offices, right? Or freelancers or nomads
Yeah.
or influencers who are looking for, bundled multi-location passes.
Yeah. And not looking to restrict themselves by location.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
Be it you want to take 100 passes, you want to take 100 meeting room hours, 100 conference room hours, category wise,
Right.
Geography wise, multiple space access, all of that could be done.
Yeah.
That brings flexibility to you, right?
Correct.
If you have to do that manually, you'll have to every time email a different brand and ask them for an email confirmation and all of that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the problem that we solve for freelancers and nomads. For B2B, it becomes a more complex problem.
Correct.
Because their requirements are complex,
Yeah.
like they are,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
so that's where we solve through a SaaS marketplace. We say, okay, we'll go one step forward and see how do we solve for your 1,000 people team, right? Where you want to take a 50-seater HQ office, you want to take a 20-seater remote office, then you
Right.
want to have 50 conference room hours. How do we solve all of this together,
Got it.
right?
Understood.
That's what we do.
Great. So I think with that, I think this would be the right point to actually talk to you a little bit about tech. We're in 2024 and the year's about to end. I think the market right now is in a place, Sparsh, wherein I think tech, anything related to tech, AI and tech being at the, I think peak of everything. People are always trying to see how is it that I can best optimize and leverage tech in my business model, at my workplace, or with whatever they're building.
Yeah.
I'm sure tech has a huge role to play, with what you're trying to build at Stylework as well.
Yeah.
Especially with the B2B SaaS model that you're moving towards.
Yeah.
How is it that you're exactly integrating tech into everything? Where all do you see it playing out? And are there any specific use cases that you'd like to talk about as well?
No, absolutely. I think first things first, I still believe hybrid is the best way.
Yeah.
Right? Only things that'll be 100% tech won't fly in long. Right?
Okay.
And that's the conversation we are having in AI,
Yeah.
for that matter, right? That it's not about that AI will completely replace us or anything like that, right? It's
Correct.
about companies and people who can do good platforming tooling from AI and then service you as well around
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's same with co-working,
Got
right?
it.
What we provide is we provide manual support and consultation to our large clients as well when we're into portfolio building for their co-working spaces and managed offices, right? Because to expect that a large company with strength of 10,000 employees or 5,000 employees, they're gonna take every office through tech is a huge expectation, right?
Yeah.
And either we don't want that to happen, but yes, we want to solve the catalyst of it through tech, right? How do we solve that? That whenever, let's say, an admin of a large company of TCS or HCL, right, is looking for spaces in Patna or Mumbai or Bangalore,
Yeah.
right? They can see out of our 90 city options,
Right.
right? They can also see which exact inventories are available,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So we call it real-time integrations, right? Right now, the real-time RTIs, we call it, that has moved for flexi bookings,
Okay.
right? Like onto some platforms or even our platform, you can see that if you want to book top 10 brands that right? Meeting room, conference room, or
Conference
day
room,
passes.
yeah,
We call that pieces flex bookings,
Flex bookings.
right? Because these are short-term flex booking spaces, right? that you're looking in for.
Right.
You can find the exact slot and exact day they're available or not.
And this
you
is
can
open
book
to
it.
individuals and
Yes.
companies both.
Both of them.
Okay.
Right. So you can come on our application, look at these spaces, you can see the slots available, you can see the days available.
Yeah.
And you can book 2-day passes, 4-day passes, 2 to 4
Right.
p.m. and all of that.
Got
right.
it.
And once you go there, it's actually available and it makes sense. Right. But what as an industry next we want to do,
Yeah.
right, is integrate on a real-time basis the private cabins availability. Right. If you look at this space, right, can you see on a platform that this exact inventory is available of a 100-seater?
No, I mean, I don't, yeah. That'll
You know
be
what
great.
I mean, right?
Because
Or
it's
if
a lot of
those-
insight into
correct.
them then.
If those 2-seaters are available,
Yeah.
right? If can we show this entire floor plan of this, of this entire floor,
Correct.
and see which exact 2-seaters are there, which exact 4-seaters
So
are there.
in real time updating
Yes,
everything.
right?
Okay.
So that level of API integration is the next thing we are coming live with, right? To push the aggregation industry forward.
Right.
Even when Make My Trip or Booking.com, when they started 10 years back,
Yeah.
right? API integration was the key to scale, right?
True.
So that's one of the core focus areas, which is very complex at the back end,
Yeah.
right? Because people don't have floor plans, people do not have space management software technologies itself, right? How do we first build the same and then reflect it to our aggregated customers?
Right.
Right.
Do people in this space, I'm just thinking because you mentioned this,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, let's say when I'm going to purchase a flat or a home,
Yeah.
today it's great and a lot of people do it.
Yeah.
Like taking like a virtual tour of
Yes.
the place.
Yes.
Is that something also that you see will happen in this space?
Absolutely. And we are doing that.
Oh,
right?
okay.
So images and then videos and then AI powered images
Yeah.
is one thing
Yeah.
that we are solving for categories of meeting room, day passes, private cabins and all. Then we are coming up with 3D virtual tours,
Right.
floor walks,
Yeah.
right? 3D tours and all of them.
Nice.
Right. Once again, it's very complex, right? Because it takes so much of cost to build that for
For
each
sure.
and
Building
every
the tech
center,
in itself is extremely
right?
capital intensive.
And then operational scalability, right?
Yeah.
How do you build in 3D tools for 10,000 spaces?
Oh, yeah.
How much cost is going to take, right? Who will build it? How it gets deployed, right?
Right.
So we are learning from some of the softwares, some of the technologies, how that could be done in very less efficient manner directly with the space partner
Got
and
it.
all of that, right? So these are the deep focus areas that
Moving forward that you're focusing on.
we are already working on it for the last 1.5 years. Some of the reflections have still come in.
Yeah.
Like, we would have at least for 100 spaces, 3D tours.
Okay.
Right, we would have at least for 500 centers real-time integration for their flex bookings.
Got it.
Right, we would have at least now coming up with first 50 centers of private cabin integrations as well. So that's almost the maximum number any aggregator would have globally at this moment. Right, so that's what we want to solve and inspire for,
Yeah.
and we're looking how we can scale this to all of this to 10,000 centers or lakh centers India
Yeah.
globally,
Yeah.
and build it a great platform.
No, that sounds really interesting. And I think the fact that you mentioned that, like you said, especially the RTIs, which you spoke about, I think I found that to be extremely useful. And I think
Yeah.
it's a use case that applies to almost everybody, right?
Yes.
Even if I, as an individual today, have to book a space and I am on the go always, right?
Yeah.
As a solopreneur, I'm always looking out for a space to work out of or shoot my podcast or do something.
Yes.
And how do you know on the go that what does the space really look like,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
How many people can it accommodate and etc. I think
Yes.
that is extremely useful.
Yes.
And I'm glad that you're solving for it and it's already rolled out
Yes.
in a manner.
Yes.
But with that, Sparsh, also tell me that I'm sure a lot of the companies that come in and book these, 50 seaters, 100 seaters, whatever capacity they want at these different co-working spaces, most of them are also, if not all, hybrid companies in general or remote working companies, etc. or whatever.
Yes.
Now, what do you think? Have you seen any peculiar problems crop up when it comes to just the hybrid working model? And what is it that, again, co-working space aggregators or co-working spaces in general can do to just make hybrid working more flexible, more comfortable, and just a better experience overall?
Yeah, I think, and that's one of the use case that we should speak about,
Yeah.
and we should take it out to the audience as well. Generally, what happens is, let's say you are taking a 50-seater for your team, right?
Okay.
Then you'll take a private space of 50 seats.
Yeah.
Generally, that's the idea, right?
Yeah.
But then hybrid is roster based.
Correct.
Right? What do we mean by hybrid? That's basically that this month I want to say that half of my employees will come 3 days to office.
Correct.
But next month we have more work, more pressure.
So
So come back for maybe 4 days. I want to change the roster. Right? And maybe, in the next quarter, let's have 5-day week for 80% of them.
Correct.
So you want to play around with the permutations and combinations
Yeah.
within these, rosters, right? That's one problem that generally you cannot do while you are taking a space in a commercial space, or even you're taking a space with a co-working space directly,
Yeah.
right? Because if you're doing that, you might not want to take 50 sitter and pay for it, because you have to see financials as well,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? The only big companies who have a lot of wealth, they'll say just take 100 sitter
Correct.
and call everybody when you want to. 50 seats are empty. But 80% of the companies, they care about cost.
Correct.
Right?
Obviously.
They say whatever we are using, we want to spend on
Spend
that.
on that,
Right?
yeah.
So the problem solving is how we can solve that problem, right? So being as an aggregator on Flexboard, what we solve is that, once you take 50 sitters, your check-ins would be integrated through the check-in management system.
Yeah.
You can create rosters through the platform
Okay.
of the employees, because it will be integrated into your HRMS
Okay.
right there. So that, and then there is a dedicated billing that you took for 30 seats.
Yeah.
And then there's a pay-per-use billing.
Okay.
So bringing pay-per-use billing above your
As
dedicated
and when
billing.
needed on ad hoc basis.
Yes. Or any day, right? Let's say today 35 people come in.
Then. Got it.
Tomorrow 40 people come in.
Yeah.
For next 7 days, 28 only come in. So you're still paying for 30
Yeah.
as dedicated at the start of the month.
Correct.
But on the next billing cycle, on a per day count basis, your extra head counts
also.
would just be billed for your day pass thing, right?
Got it.
You'll save costs on it.
Yeah.
Now, to do all of this, it's intense integration. It's a very simple visibility to all the stakeholders,
Correct.
right? So that's how we are trying to solve in the hybrid membership problem. In India, primarily, it might not be a great use case, but for companies who want to do that, because we've came back to 5 to 0. How much percentage of companies are there today working on 2 days to office, 3 days to home?
Very few. Yeah.
Very few,
They've
right?
gone back to
They've
the
gone
general.
back,
Yeah.
right? But it's a very good concept to solve globally,
Yeah.
because for us, hybrid ratio is back to 5 to 0. In Southeast Asia and Middle East, it's still 3 to 2, right? I'm not saying which is good, which is bad.
Yeah.
It's just that tomorrow, if any uncertain event again happens, or we go back to 4 to 1
Yeah.
or 3 to 2, this is the technology that we can use for, right?
Got it.
And a lot of companies in India are also not doing it because they do not have the technology.
Yeah. I mean, they don't have
Around
the
it.
resources and the infrastructure to
Correct,
be able
because
to
see,
support it.
trust between employer and employee is a major problem up here, right? Till the time we do not have visibility that what's exactly happening, who is checking in, what's not happening, still, howsoever we say, we have that mindset that which people should be around,
Correct. For sure.
right? let's accept that,
Yeah.
right?
For sure.
So we're just trying to build those technologies that build them more confidence
Yeah.
to support more hybrid.
More. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
No, I'm so that's very interesting, and I'm glad that again you're trying to solve for it, because it's a real problem, right?
Yes.
And with that, I think, Sparsh, when we look at the entire co-working space again, and you trying to bridge the gap, just like you rightly mentioned all throughout this conversation.
Yeah.
I know you're already doing so much, but when you look at from a company standpoint, obviously, and when you look at the team working at, towards different KPIs and different things that you have in mind for your clients, what's the future of Stylework going to look like, right? Where is the company headed? What do you plan on doing? And what is it that we can expect to see, let's say, in the next year, right? So if you could also tell me a little bit about that.
I was just filling in a questionnaire form last evening.
Okay.
And it asked me a question about 5 years, right? Somebody asked me for 3 years, I'm asking for 1 year.
1 year, yeah.
So let me start from 5 and narrow it down to 1.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I think 5 is a pretty clear vision, right? That let's say we want to be a minimum of 8,000, 10,000 employee company, right? Because that matters to me, right? How many people are associated for whom you are managing their PNL,
Yeah.
their life's PNL,
Yeah.
right? As a company,
Correct.
right? So that's the first KPI,
Got it.
right? Be it from our Indian staff or global staff or employees. That's the vision that we want to take across. Taking it to, let's say, 150 to 200 countries. Because right now we are in India, we've started on aggregating some of the countries like Australia, Singapore, Dubai.
So you're expanding globally as well?
Yes, we're focusing a lot on India.
Yeah.
Because now India has become the biggest market of flex in the world.
Flexo, yeah.
Right? US is second, right? So it's going massive, right? So we're focusing in, but yes, we're slowly expanding in as well.
Got it. Yeah.
So you want to make Stylework as the Airbnb of the globe.
Got it.
Right? And one of the best technologies to empower future of work globally, right? That's what we see in 4-5 years. Obviously, we are a equity VC funded organization. We want to keep it sustainable. We want to grow from EBITDA positive to PAT positive journeys. Right. This year, we're looking at PAT break even, right? And continue at a 3 to 4% PAT to 8 to 10% PAT.
Got it.
In next 3-4 years.
Yeah.
As we plan for a main board IPO or a global IPO in next 3 to 4 years.
Yeah. You're also in the middle of a fundraise right now, right? As we record this.
Yeah. My advisors have asked me to stay undisclosed about it.
Okay.
But yes, that's a pre-series B fundraise.
Got it. Understood.
Yeah.
That's lovely. So I'm sure that there are exciting times to come. And I think when we also look at the number one KPI being the number of people you're able to impact, right? And the number of people who are able to, let's say, join you and take this vision forward. I think that's a great KPI to have, right? Because it's only the people and the team that you have, right? They always say that a founder is only as good as their team and the people around them. So why don't we just, as we're coming towards the end of the conversation, Sparsh, for the audience and for everybody, I think it'll be really nice to understand what have your key learnings been in 10 years of being, at it, being an entrepreneur, building different products and building Stylework now. It could be from a standpoint of hiring, team building, related to tech, building a product, anything else. But could be advices you've kind of gained from your mentors as well. But 3 things that have stuck with you, and I think that would help the audience as well.
No, I think the number one thing that everybody says, right? Don't give up.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's the only attitude, right? Because no matter what you do, how much learnings you learn from these podcasts or anything like that, life's going to give you failures.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So the single line that you want to keep in mind is don't give up.
Yeah.
Right? Still believe tomorrow morning we're going to wake up and find a solution. Right? And stay optimistic around it.
Right.
No matter how deep you're in the water.
Yeah.
Right? And embrace it and embrace the pain. Right?
Got it.
Because once you start embracing, you start loving it as well, and then it's fine. Right? And then good things will happen to you.
Right.
Right? Because it's about time, right? It's not about that you have to build something in 3-5 years and just
get done with it.
Get on it, right?
Yeah,
it's about you have to learn to longevity, bring the longevity to the time.
Correct. Yeah.
So I think that's the first learning. Second, about a lot of learnings, which I'm still learning, right, is about the right, once again, coming back to people, right? And how to understand what people want, how to motivate them to, kind of automate things, how to move from ownership to management, right? It's not about giving an employee 20 things and getting it done every day.
Correct.
Right? It's about what 2 conversations and 3 things you give to him, and he's supercharged and motivated to do rest 20 from his own.
On their own. Yeah.
So that's the, oration, or that's the narration that we're still learning every day.
Got it.
Right? And I think the more we practice across it, we could build great products and great people.
Lovely. I think, Sparsh, before we let you go, I'd love for you to probably close the podcast on any note, anything that you'd like to share with the audience. So that'll be great. Yeah, please.
Awesome. If I have to conclude, and closings are very important words in transactions, right?
Yeah.
So because the transactions are going on,
from
that perspective.
Yeah.
No, I think the single line is, the journey why we have been able to build good success and good products and services and a good brand and a good company around co-working.
Yeah.
Comes in all from your belief and manifestation, right? So I think to a lot of audience and everybody, right? That's my closing remark. That believe in your manifestation, practice it more.
Yeah.
Work hard, you'll get there.
Yeah, that's a very good one and well said. I think, like you rightly said, a lot of what we are able to kind of bring into reality is first always a vision and a thought in your head, right?
I think it's about first you have to respect it in your head.
In your head, exactly. Only if you believe in it in your head is it ever going to even kind of transpire into something real.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
I can still, kind of have a manifestation that will have the maximum market share on a monopoly. If I'm believing on that, then at least we will have 10%.
Exactly. Then like you say, right, you aim for something so that you at least reach probably a 10% lower mark to that someday. Perfect. I think it's been a wonderful conversation, Sparsh. I think I've been able to get a lot of insights into your journey as an entrepreneur and what you're building, at Stylework. Hoping to obviously see it, skyrocket and do what it is meant to do. Really happy that we could do this conversation, and for everyone who's tuned in till this point, I hope that you had a lot of learnings. Do let us know in the comments what was your number one key takeaway from this episode. We'll also be linking all of Sparsh's and Stylework's socials in the description, so do check it out. That's it for this episode, but before you leave, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the Dhairya Decodes channel. Thank you so much.